Run the meeting. Go ahead and run the meeting. You can get the rest of the way.
It's really pick a vice president.
That's what we're doing.
All right, so let's go ahead and bump up show and tell. So who's got the first? Denny, why don't you go ahead?
Start the show stuff.
It says select the microphone. You see that?
Don't get wet over there.
What's that?
So don't get wet over there.
Yeah, it's on the one that says HD audio.
These two bowls came from a barrel that came from Liberty,
Okay.
from the guy that has his curly maple. Okay, so that's where this stuff came from. I just love the grain in it.
If you blow it in
And
the
this is the
microphone, maybe.
chestnut that is available. That was from New Columbia. Yeah.
Is,
$20 a billet. These billets are huge. And then this was just a piece of the curly maple that he gave me, and I just loved the look of it, so I just made a little thing maybe to put paper clips in or something. That's what that stuff is. The guy called me again this week. He has another chestnut tree. He says it's, at the base, he said it's almost 5 foot.
If I'm talking to you here, can you hear me?
I can
Yay!
hear you now.
Can you
Can you
hear
hear me
us?
now? Okay. I'm gonna hang up.
Okay, thanks.
Got it going.
So that you were left in charge.
I can hear you guys, except for Rob. So we're ready to start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Do you have a mic on?
That's the sound of the blade. You got the video? You can see my hand?
Yep, perfect.
See your fingers?
Okay.
You always see 4 of them.
One of the things that I'm curious about, do most of you do spindle turning? Not much?
We can't hear you. Say that again.
Do most of you do spindle turning?
I think it's a mix here. I think there are a lot of spindle turners and there's a lot of bowl turners. So we're a little bit of each and a couple of pen turners.
Okay. Any problems getting round balls?
I don't think we've done many. I don't think many people have done round balls. That's why you're doing the demo.
Okay. Well, one of the things that I have learned over the years, and this is the secret to the whole thing, is when you hold a tool, most of us hold a tool like this, right?
Right.
And that limits the amount you can turn your tool to here without getting contorted. So you have this much range of motion. I darken the flute so that you can see what's going on when you roll the tool, because without that darkening, you don't see the difference. Here's a hint or a trick or information. Your index finger locks up your wrist. If you take your hand like this, just where you're sitting, just make a fist like you had a hold of the tool like this. See how far you can roll your wrist. Now stick your finger out, your index finger, and see what you can do with your hand. You can turn it completely upside down or over. Okay? So when you're turning, little anchor on that tool rest, that's the bevel. Come down to start dusting and pick up your cut. and then roll the tool. You see this allows you to get round. So if I want to go the other way, I'm going to take my index finger and roll it down underneath. See here, I'm up at 90 degrees on this side.
So what kind of angle do you have on your tool there?
This is a 35-degree angle. If I use my detail gouges, I go to a 25-degree angle. I do a secondary bevel right here, because if you're doing codes, you're back cutting. The other thing that's different too is I've got a fingernail drying. So if you're using a one-way Wolverine sharpening system, where a bowl gouge, you turn it like pretty much upside down to get that side drying. On this, you're going to be more like this, getting the sides back so the sides are sharpened all the way back into here. Okay. So when you're doing code, you can see, I'll do that one more time.
How high is,
Only half of the blade is working, and it's all over on that side that you're cutting.
Say, how high is your cutting angle relative to center line there?
How high?
How high is your cutting angle relative to the center line, the axis of the lathe?
That's the question in a little different way.
How high is your tool rest?
How high is my tool rest? I'm just above center. I can go down a little bit with that. Basically, you want to be where you can have your point at center and you're going. Let me just do a little bit more of the. I got my index finger up on top. So, in order to do this, we're starting here. We're rolling. So, rolling is lifting your handle and sliding around, okay? You pick up your cut. Right rolling and sliding at the same time. And you're picking the handle up to get the sharp edge down in there. Okay. I'm going to put my finger on the bottom side of the tool, my index finger. So I'll roll and picking at the same time that I'm rolling. Can you see my right hand at all?
no,
Okay, let me move up here. Can you see it now?
no, just barely.
Okay. So if I do it like this,
There you go.
and then I pick up. So here, if I pick my elbow up a little bit, I'm at the center line. Okay. If I come in here, I'm pretty much pushing forward, straight forward this way, but the bevel is taking me that way.
So is the handle down by your hip or is it
Well, right
parallel?
now, the handle is perfectly horizontal or just a little bit high so that the tip is at the center line. Yeah, I can just push in straight. If I roll the tool just a little bit open, you can see I'm taking away on this side. One of the interesting things in doing this stuff is that you can, on the fly, as you're working with it, if you're doing a bunch in a row, you can stretch them out or make them smaller. Yeah, and yeah, and start, touch the belly, pick the handle up a little bit. Keep picking the handle up, rolling, and sliding on the belly. Now, you don't need to have different size tools to have different size valves. That's beautiful. My index finger is on the bottom. So I'm going left. And you can see I'm totally up vertical here. And this one's a little bit longer than that one is. We can actually make that longer yet. As I get you down in, I roll up, throw it up on the side. Like that. Now, let's see if we can make a little in.
This is going there quite a ways.
Rolling, pushing. I'll switch my finger down to the bottom side of the tool. We're gonna go left. I'm gonna cut a little bit of first turn into the again, we start here. Rotate left. And as I'm coming around, I'm sliding, but I'm rolling and picking the handle at the same time. So let's start here. Roll, pitch. It's sort of like patting your head and rubbing your belly at the same time. You gotta be doing a couple of different things. We tried to get our lateral camera to work so that you could see it from the side. And Will didn't like that. So you can leave it up on top. I'm gonna go to the right. I'm down underneath.
So how many people do spindle turning? Anybody? Everybody else is mostly just bowls?
Mostly.
I do little spindles like pens or spindles.
Pens are spindle turning, yeah.
Boxes.
Boxes, oh yeah, the boxes.
My acorns, I guess, would be spindle.
Yeah, they're
I
boxes.
I do a lot of work of running balusters where people have an old house that they're fixing up, and maybe the kids and the dog got fighting on the stairs or something, and broke out 3 of the balusters, and make them, so it's easier to turn them by hand than it is to try to make a template for it.
You do production balusters? Do you do them for like, construction companies or?
I haven't gotten into doing, I don't want to do more than 10.
Okay,
Then it doesn't pay. At that point, you should be on a duplicator. I'm
How
trying
do
to keep this
how do you price those?
$20 an hour. If they supply the wood, square it up, and there you go. And that's a sandwich finish. If you can see, we got a whole bunch of different sizes of walls here of the same tool. This is a 1/2 inch. Gouge. So you all understand what I'm doing with finger up and finger down, right? Finger up on top of the, go to the right. Finger down on the bottom. I turn a lot. Can you see me here? The handle, the right hand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. I tend to do a lot where I have my right arm against my body to give me more stability. If you have your hands out like this, you're doing this kind of motion a lot. Every time you take a breath, you're moving a little bit. So if you can put your forearm against your body, you're going to be a lot more stable. And you can make it a lot smoother cut. So there's another tip for you. Okay.
so when you start sanding, what, grit do you start at?
I usually can go in at 120. Let's see. I just happen to have a 120 piece of sandpaper here.
How about that?
So as long as you're not digging gouges in, if you leave little ridges up, they sand off really quick. You see this line right here? That's a corner sticking up. Well, it takes about that much to take those corners off. They come off really quick. Every part that's sticking up, I sand off real quick.
So Don, I'm curious, how long you been turning and, what got you started in turning?
I had an uncle that was an engineer at Bell Labs, and he's the guy that invented the curly cord on the old telephones.
Oh, okay.
And so
We appreciate that.
he had a shop in his basement. And I was fascinated with all this woodworking stuff because I'd never seen it. And the lathe was totally foreign to me. So I was asking him a bunch of questions about it. And he said, well, here, went over to the wood pile, got a piece of wood out, didn't square it up or do anything with it. And we had some old Craftsman tools. This is back in about 1960, 1960, thereabouts. And we had an oil stone that was well bellied, bellied out from sharpening with it and squirted a few shots of old dirty motor oil into that stone and scrubbed the gouge in it and showed me how it made chips. That was cool.
Yep.
He handed me the gouge and said, "Have fun." And he left. And I had fun with that tool.
Do you do it, has it become a career for you, or is it just a hobby?
It's a hobby. But it's a pretty well paid hobby.
Okay, so you're starting to steer now. Tell us what you're doing.
This is gonna be a ball. And,
What's the diameter of
it's
the piece there?
I have a picture, we'll see, but we can show it to you later. I do things like this. And this. Turning balls like this is a skill builder. And it's also a nice way to show off wood and things. So there's a piece of spalted dyed wood.
Do you have your tool rest turned around so it goes underneath like that, or is that a different type of rest?
This is the way this tool rest is made. It is sort of round like that.
I think it's just a round bar, isn't it?
I think it's one of those scooped ones. It
It
looks like it's
looks like
under
it
wood.
goes underneath the piece.
This is an older Rikon.
Yeah, it looks like it's under.
So tell us what you're doing here.
Maybe it does.
I'm using a simple roughing guide. We're just wasting wood. This is a piece of poplar.
Pretty dry?
And
Pretty damp.
there's a center line. I'm gonna leave that center line. And
About 3 inches.
my cutting edge here should be pretty close to center line there.
Is that 3-inch diameter stuff? Is that what it is?
Yes, exactly 3 inches. But now again, anchor on the tool rest, touch your bevel down, and then you start your cut. You just pick your handle up, and then I basically have my right arm against my body, and I just lean into it. I'm a slow dancer, real slow. So you can see that the ball is starting to take shape. And I could do this with a spindle guide, but it's so much quicker to do it with a spindle roughing guide than really get into it.
I never tried a sphere. Did anybody try a sphere?
I've made one or two.
Yeah?
Yeah, they weren't dead round. I didn't have the gizmo for
So here I'm just
sphere.
bringing my body back, come around and try to clear that up.
Like a bocce ball.
Yeah, it's kind of like the croquet balls.
Yeah.
I've made eights.
I can be a fairly aggressive turner at times. And again, I'm doing this kind of motion with the tool. Come in doing this.
One of the last things Jim talked about, he made some cup arrangement,
Yeah,
so that you can turn it initially, and then
for
you
spheres.
then you
Yeah.
rotate it for making a sphere.
yeah.
I always wanted to see his jig that he made.
They're just small cups, that big around, and just.
On either end?
Yep, both ends,
Yeah, both ends.
yep. I saw one on YouTube where they just made it
Yeah, that, we push
horse.
this guy down a little bit more,
They just popped it in both sides.
and front and low. Bringing the handle out away from my body, that I've got my upper arm resting against the side of my body. Give me a nice smooth motion in it. So that brought that in fairly quick. And now let's see what we can do with, come back with a spindle gouge. Anchor, that's the bevel down.
Surprised he didn't use a parting tool to measure the diameter end to end, you know?
So to answer part of that question, that was, I've been learning since I was 13, that life gets in the way, as you all know.
Yeah.
That's fact. For the last 20 years, I really gotten into it a lot. We a fair amount of work for a guy that refinishes really old antique furniture. And one of the jobs last year was a German bench that was out of a church. That you, as soon as you looked at it, you knew that it was something like that. And it had these little tiny balls that I just missed. Picture up. You okay? Can you see them? Can you see okay?
Yep.
Okay. The noise is me being pretty aggressive. I got a bit of a corner right here. That would be left-handed roll and doing left index finger up on top. Got my handle up to at least level, maybe a little bit higher. I'm getting this down in here because we're gonna change over into a jam chuck here shortly. So, finger on top. Gonna slide it on here. And here, if I roll this here just a little bit like that, I can make space for myself. Look like the ball, pretty close. I'll take a minute here and change things over. In the advertisers in the back of the journal, there's two different Carters. There's a Carter and Son Tool Works, which makes the gouges and turning tools, and then there's the other Carter that makes other items. And the one that makes all the other items makes a set of cups to hold the ball.
Anybody that?
No.
Carter and Son makes the tools, and Carter Tools makes the cups, which is gonna be the next step.
Okay.
So here's one of the cups. There's a 2-inch depression, 2-inch ring here. That whole thing is 3.5 inches. It doesn't have to be that big. What the big thing is, I got big hands. If the cup is too small, the little ball will roll around. So if that's the case, then take this deeper in here. On the bigger ball, it holds it just fine. Okay, because this doesn't stick down in as much. So you can make these. So we're gonna just stick this one in here. Gonna push in the middle to get it seated square on the jaws.
I would think we'd make that the cup. Really?
Here's this live tailstock comes with Powermatic, which is the lathe that I have at home. And I started out by drilling a hole big enough to put a 3/4 inch standard nut in. You can buy these at Harbor Freight by the handfuls. They charge you by the pound. And then again, we have a recess in here. This could be made to slip over or the outer portion of a live center, or live tailstock piece rather. And this makes it pretty handy. I have a whole bunch of little jigs that fit on there with a 3/4 inch screw. So I'm
You
gonna-
got different sizes for the different balls, right? Or different spears.
So that's a,
No, actually, you can, if you got that center cup part deep enough, you can turn a whole bunch of different sizes in the same set. Now, if you get really big, I'm gonna just
embedded
get
in
rid of these things here.
extra wide, it's a Morse taper that has a root. Yeah.
I can't see what you're cutting off.
Okay. I guess there's a lot of different ways.
So there's my pencil line. From before, but then when it was up to before it was running this way, right?
Oh, the column comes off.
We can't see the pencil line. Which way does it go?
There it is.
Oh, okay, got it.
Right here. So with these set of cups, you could turn a ball and be that big without any trouble at all. Now I got ears sticking out here. This came out pretty good. Then anchor. Touch down. Lift my handle up before I'm cutting wood. Now, one of the things I use this particular tool as a skewer because the side here is sharpened. And if you touch down like this,
Finger on top.
and I'm rolling the tool, but I'm sliding on the belly. You get a little bit of that in it because they're out of ground. So that's one way. Another way is to use it when you have the fingernail drying. See how that it's pretty much closed up. And so there I'm doing a negative scraping. And you can see how fine the dust is. And it's practically sanding. Now, what I will tell you here is, this is a real soft touch. This is not a manly thing. That's feeling pretty good. So, not quite down enough yet. My pencil line is still showing there, so I know I'm staying pretty close. I'm gonna roll this around a little bit. Need to back my tailstock up a little bit. I'm gonna do a little bit of this broken.
So you don't use any half round fixture or anything, you just do it by eyeball?
So again,
You don't use any fixture that has like a half a circle template to do it, you just do it by eyeball?
you could use the template if you want. That's. And,
If he has his pencil line, that's perfectly circular.
I have a picture,
As soon as he gets down to the pencil line, then
Done.
it should be circular the other way.
I have a picture, I'd like to show you if we can do it. 102 balls on a four-poster bed, four posts, so they're all the same size. So what I worked with a pair of dividers and put them on like this. That way I could get my dimensions for this part as well as for this. And so some people will work with a pinhole light, set up high, shine, so it'll match into the ball size down here, or make a half round template or whatever. If you're doing it just for fun of doing it, just do it by eye. Some people in the world collect special wood. There's actually a group across the U.S. that mail pieces of wood back and forth between them. And they collect all these exotic wood. There was a guy by the name of Dick Field in New York. I was a shop teacher at Bethel School District. And after he died, I had a chance to see his collection. He had turned eggs. So he had these big squares of egg cartons, foam stuff. And he had a stack full of eggs from floor to ceiling. It was amazing. And it was all exotic woods. I think I'm going to start sanding that. Get down close. Don't be afraid to step over and start sanding in the face. You could be down less than 30 seconds. It'll be a little bit rough. And sanding it will bring it right in and that's kind of The other thing that you could watch for is you'll have a shadow
So they're all the same.
when you're getting close. When you get it round, that shadow will basically disappear and you can make a nice solid line for you.
Ken, did he buy those cups or did he make? He made those. I just looked up on Carter, it's Carter Tools, is that what it's called? They're $113.
Jeez, for a pair or for one?
Yeah, per pair.
And they're wood?
No, they look like they're urethane with steel or aluminum.
Mm.
And they're blue and yellow, so.
Ooh. There's $100 right there.
$113.
Yep.
Mm.
There's a.
Of course, then that old jig at the top for doing a perfect sphere too, right?
When you buy a dozen of them, kind of let me know.
Okay. Here's what that, I don't know if you can see that, but here's what they look like. They're a little smaller. And, yeah, that was what I saw. $113.
Wow. Can you show that picture again, of what they like?
Sure.
It's like a yellow rubber.
It's like a urethane type of thing.
Does it feel, Ron?
So there's still a shadow of pencil line there, a little bit around there. But there's a ball.
Nice job.
Yeah, that's great.
So how many is that for you now? Is that like 400 or 500?
I don't, I enjoy doing things, you know, we have so much, I have so much wood around in my shop. I have a hard time throwing any sizable chunks out. Sizable chunks that should be a lot smaller than that. Because you can make all kinds of stuff. But,
You put a finish on that sphere?
what do you think? That's dyed and got to finish. I like Minwax antique oil. It's a rectangular red can that you'll find at Ace or True Value.
Put it a little lower, it's blurry.
Can't see it.
There you go.
It'll spin.
Yeah.
This is playing with dyes. Blue dye on one side, yellow dye on the other side. Green wood on that shoulder.
Is it an alcohol dye or what kind of dye is it?
Transient. It's metallic acid, actually. So I think this gives you an excuse to play around with things. I experiment with all kinds of stuff. You know, I look at the woodcraft, people just modern things. Other questions?
Yeah, anybody have any questions for Dawn?
Do you make little pedestals for them?
Little questions. Open balls, like a head cup.
Yeah, how do you display them?
Just like they are. They're a bowl full of balls, different colors and sizes.
Just
It's interesting for people to look at in the house.
I'm gonna go home and get right on all the balls.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you know, you don't need a special tailstock piece. I mean, any of your tailstocks have a little column like that. You just take any piece of wood and drill a hole in it and just pop that on there.
Yep.
And then turn it. It just takes 10 minutes to make one of those out of any piece of wood.
Right,
So, yeah.
and you can print it from the shop.
Even Osage George?
Yeah.
Really,
Osage Orange, I'll give you the Osage Orange.
Really, the whole, the portion of it. It's been setting up. Inside the hole, suck up on the inside of the hole.
It's better than Osage Orange. It sinks in the water. Brazilian Massaranduba, which I have unlimited supplies of.
In Brazil.
I'm allergic to it.
Yeah, yeah, trouble.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Dawn, you there?
The question for you is,
Well, thank you very much, Dawn, much appreciated.
hold on just a minute.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
I'm gonna turn the camera off. Can you see my desktop? That image?
Yep, we see, looks like basement floor.
That's, the camera went to sleep. But in Zoom. And, when we get to, if we stop video, you can see my screen. If I do a shared screen, you can see it.
You want to share a screen?
All right. Get another one that we're drifting.
Looks like you got it.
Hey Ken, where do you see?
So this.
What you made.
Look at
There's the picture he's trying to
Yeah, we can see that.
You made a Jenny Lynn bed, huh?
No, it is.
Yep, it's called a Jenny Lynn bed.
So that's, doors to my shop. I gave you a bit of an idea, the doors are about 7 feet. The first to it.
Is that a better?
I can tell.
functions there.
There's slots here for the frame, and these are the.
He just glued a bunch of balls together.
No, he turned all
Pieced
those.
together.
Those are all.
I get it, you don't have the shelf.
Yep.
What kind of length is he?
Long. Broken up Jenny Lynn bed on the side of the road somebody was throwing out. I brought it home and made a bunch of snowmen out of them.
Are those about 3 foot long, Don?
No.
No, look at the size of the door.
Yeah, it's a door.
It's got like 8 foot.
Okay.
It's supposed to,
Don, is that one piece of wood?
How long was your lathe bed?
Maybe that's a dollhouse.
So is that one long piece of wood there, each one of those?
I think he went off the air.
No, he's still on.
Each individual spheres.
So Ken, I heard it,
I
Jenny
know,
Craig.
that's really strange.
Jenny Lynn.
You missed this last time.
Yeah, it is it's really nice on the bottom.
Was
I'd like to see that.
a famous
We don't hear you, Don.
singer back in the.
Is he even connected?
1880s. She was.
Can you hear us?
Yes, you'll be surprised.
Really? And she was so famous they named her bed after her. She was that sexy.
Where did these other images along the bottom?
Yeah, they're
Need to
really
scroll
nice.
through.
Charity screen, that's through this. Those are on his. Alright.
Yeah.
Post for the bed. Unship.
Dawn, you still there? We can't hear you. We lost sound.
Yeah, that's us.
Is that him moving the cursor?
Yes,
No.
yeah, yes, right.
His microphone's on.
Travis, he's controlling it, right?
He might have lost the sound because he's screen sharing.
Yeah.
Don Wilson.
Just put him on speaker.
Okay, how are you?
Just put him on speaker.
Yeah.
Those all are horizontally, the lines match up with the bulbs.
Get one of the bowls,
So
put it in the
this
bowl.
is how I was able to keep track of it, to make it all match in at the top by using dividers. That way, it worked out better than trying to measure.
Yeah.
So those are all one long piece of wood? Or did you do it in sections?
In sections, 3 pieces make up each section that was turned, each post.
Right.
My Jenny Lynn bit was all one.
Okay.
Aren't you
I
special?
think when you share screen, that's how it goes down.
Yeah, but I didn't share the screen to show you the pictures.
Yeah.
Question for the group is, how did they like seeing that much of a close-up on the work?
It was good.
That's
It
good.
was good, it was good.
Good detail.
The video was good, the sound was a little difficult to hear.
Definitely.
It was good.
It was a little bit yellow also. I thought the screen was a little bit yellow, it wasn't very clear.
That was the lighting.
Yeah.
It's a soft light. Here at the Guild, I teach wood turning, we teach pottery, silversmithing, lapidary, and stuff like that, so I'm into making up videos for the different modalities that we teach here. And most of the time with all the seminars that I've gone to, the people were on one side of the lathe and the audience is on the other side of the lathe. In recent years, it's gotten a lot better, but it still hasn't gotten down to what are your hands doing.
Right.
Quite as close as I would like to see it as far as using video to teach like that. So that's why I'm working this close.
Yep, very good.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Don.
See ya.
All right, we'll get him logged off. Is he gone?
Yeah, he's on.
Okay. Oh, look at that handsome group.
Think we're gonna have to pay us $1.
Yeah, right.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll pick up where we were. Jenny went, go ahead, Jim, can you do yours?
Sure. Let's see, I brought in, I had brought in a box that looked like this the last time, and this is, I don't know, a container. It is from a shrub that was in our front yard. It was a big trunk that I cut and I saved some of it. It is garbage wood, it's super light, but it was kind of fun to mess with. And then this is spalted oak. I was surprised by the spalting. In fact, I was surprised that it was oak. I've got a bunch of logs from a couple of years ago in my shop, and I know some of them are cherry. I thought this was cherry, but it turned out to be oak. And then inspired by Ken's penguins, I made several tiny penguins.
I'm so proud.
And then I was making snowmen, and this one, I got it done, I stopped the lathe, and there was a hole in the side of it, like a nail hole or something. And so I had to figure out a way to cover it up, and I gave him a surfboard.
That's the best one.
I think that's it. Yep.
Mine's,
Can you grab this?
oh, you've got the big beak.
Yeah, he put eyeballs on it, too, it's kind of, not intelligent yet.
I trimmed the back of his head. I put on my disc sander, couldn't try to shoot it.
Yeah, who made you do that?
My wife.
What's the beak made of?
A dowel from 3/16 inch, and I turned in a pencil sharpener.
That's a good idea.
Another tool, gotta get
You can get those at Carter and Son.
They're only $98, right?
Who else is up there? I know Tony has some.
Yep.
By the way, Don Wilson, it was in a place similar to this that he was doing that from.
Oh, yeah. I think you can, well, okay.
So this was a remake from the pattern I had run earlier. A few changes to it. Put a ring on the top to hide the way it's put together.
Yeah.
That's the mystery back to it. And then I also changed out the woods. And I got much better contrast here. I think this is definitely an improvement from the first one. And then this is going to be identical to this.
Is that maple and walnut? What do you got?
Maple, walnut, and cherry.
Okay.
This was to be identical to the first one, and as I got into it, I was finding voids. Things just weren't lined up. So at that point, you just have to keep peeling away until you get it clean. And then once you're into solid material, come in and put the finished shape to it. It really turned out nice. I'm real happy with that.
Very nice.
And this was the result of a major screw up.
That's good. Wish I could chew up that bad.
The way I do these, I create a solid block with a bunch of different pieces. And then, before that goes on the lathe, I take it with the bandsaw and I put it on a corner, on a cradle, and push it through and take 4 corners off. That way there's just a lot less work on the lathe. But when I draw the circumference on the block, that's how I determine how much of the corner I want to take off. Well, I skimped on this one, and trying to be frugal with the wood, the base was much larger than the top. And when I drew the circumference, I drew the circumference for the smaller top. So when I took it off, I took entirely too much off. So I threw that aside and thought about it for a while. And I came back and I glued a ply or a laminate to where the cut mark was, and then I glued the corner back on. And this is what I got, and I was really pleased with that. So I wanted to replicate this. And try number 2 was very different. Try number 3 was different, 4 was different, 5 was different. I was up to about 10, until I finally came in and really zoned in on it. Had to play with different thicknesses of the ply and different depths of cutting the corners off. So I've got quite a few of these. They're all nice, but they're different, but it wasn't what I was shooting for.
What's the inside look like?
Pardon me?
What's the inside look like?
It's just hollowed out with a Forstner bit, and then cleaned up a little bit with a scraper.
That's the same design as the outside.
I wanted to see.
So do you take like really detailed notes or video this?
Yeah, I
So you
do.
can
I've
keep
got
track
a
of-
program for next month.
Yeah, he's our program next month.
Well, there you go.
It all starts off with a very detailed drawing, a pattern. And then what I keep coming back
Don't
to
give him
is.
too much.
what-
Too much.
No, yeah, no.
Let me say it.
Who else we got up
You're
there?
gonna come next month.
Hey, you gotta come next month.
Stop, stop, stop.
Wait, you wanna give me that one on the end?
Wow.
He catch?
Right, so this is a small cherry bowl. It's, the fluted, part of it is, let's see, marked with indexing all the way around. And then I'm connecting one index on the top, drawing a line. It's just a piece of cardboard bent over the shape of the bowl to get my nice line. And then I use gouges to carve out the fluting, basically. It's been done a lot, but I thought I'd try it. I like the feel from the outside, which is sort of hand textured, and then a super smooth inside makes a nice contact.
It's very
Is there a way that you could demonstrate that technique for us, with the indexing and all?
Sure, I would think so.
April, I need
I mean, there's not a lot to it, I don't know if I wanna do one. The carving takes quite a while, and then it's just a matter of sitting with a thing held in your lap. I've never understood how to use the indexing. Oh, okay. Yep, sure.
Yeah. When you say carving tool, you mean an actual wood, the thing's not spinning, it's a wood carving.
No, once you take it off, once you've done the marking and hollowed it out, and you know, I'm trying to leave it a little bit thicker, because I know I'm gonna put the indentations in it, so it might be a little thicker than you would turn it otherwise.
So you have
Just
like
using
you have like markings on the bottom and on top, and then you like kind of connect them?
Let's see, I think when it's on the lathe, I'm marking marks, yeah, top and bottom on the indexing, and then I'm using a piece of just thin cardboard to connect the dots at an angle. I mean, instead of a straight line on the outside of the bowl, it goes off at an angle.
And it's the same number of the video.
Same, right, exactly.
Very nice.
You said I could have this, right?
Yeah. Who else? For $100. Want more than that, right? More than 100.
More than 100? Just sell it?
113.
So I'm real new at this. I took the pen class a couple of months ago, and I made a few line stoppers and a few shaving brushes, but I wanted to try something different. So this was my first attempt at a bowl, and this is Paduke, and this was my second attempt, and this is bolted tamarind. So.
Thanks.
What
is that second wood?
It's tamarind, Tamrind, bolted tamarind, yeah. Anyway, I had a great time, still learning a lot, so.
Doing well.
Very nice.
What about bottle shelters, you wanna show those?
Those aren't mine,
Oh.
but I just mentioned that I didn't want to just do bottle stoppers.
Yeah, I don't have to climb through with humanity to get up here and hold them up, but they're acrylic. You remember about, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 months ago, we had, was it Tom Fox? Yeah. His stuff, and I bought a bag of these, the metal parts here for, I think there were 11 of them, and they're real cheap. So I like to make these out of acrylic, because I don't like to mix wood and water, I want to be able to wash these. Okay, and so, remember a few weeks ago, I wrote everybody an email with advice about how not to set your shop on fire? Here's other advice, because this is what the
blank looks like. It's actually 3 times longer because the blank comes 3 times as long as what you're holding in your hand, and I cut them with a hacksaw to get 3 stoppers out of each blank. And so you gotta drill a hole first to put it on the special chuck for making these. And this stuff is harder than woodpecker lips. So to keep the drill bit from skating, I thought I'd put a little hole in there with an awl, and it is really hard, and I'm pressing it, so I got out a mallet, and I just gave it a little whack, and now I have an expensive conversation piece, okay? So, you ever go to do something, and as you're about to do it, there's a little voice that says, don't do that, don't do that. But I said, no, I'll just give it a little whack, but the stuff is so hard that it will shatter. So if you ever get into making these, just try to drill in the center the best you can. And don't try to make a little hole with an awl and a mallet, because you'll have this.
What do you polish those with? What do you polish?
Oh, good question. I start with the Abranet sandpaper stuff, you know what I'm talking about? It's,
Not really, but.
it's synthetic, and you can wash it and so forth. And it's not sandpaper as much as it's, I don't know what you call it, but it's a company called Abranet.
drywall.
Yeah, it's like a
screen.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a screen.
Drywall.
And I start, probably at about 120, and I go to 180, 240, 320, 400, 600.
Wet or dry?
That's dry. Then I switch to these little pads, then there are 9 of them from 1,500 to 12,000. And I wet sand those. So I don't worry about getting the lathe bed wet or anything like that, because they're not soaked. Although I keep them in water if I'm ready to use them. I squeeze them a little bit, they're like a sponge. And you can put a rag on your bed, on the bed of the lathe, and just hold them there. And you get a nice slurry. And then you wipe that slurry off and go to the next one. But they're wet sanded through 12,000. And they come out like glass.
You know, does anyone do the combination wood,
Resin?
Is that how they polish those? The same way? Okay, cause they look,
I would guess. I've never mixed them like that.
No, I
Just
never have.
a hollow piece of wood, and fill it up with, I've never done that.
You cutting those with carbide tools on the lathe when you turn them?
You can use regular tools in the carbide, but I found that the normal carbide is just too aggressive, because these will shatter and break and such, and you get it right where you want it, and you get a catch, you gotta start. So I went to negative rake, and a very, very gentle touch. And that seemed to work a lot better than a real aggressive carbide.
Negative rate carbide does it too. Negative rate carbide.
They make.
That's what I meant, negative rate carbide is what I've been using, because it's kinder and gentler. The regular carbide is just too aggressive for this stuff. You gotta have a real slow hand. Don't ever try to make a hole.
Yeah, I just had an answer to your resin. If you do resin in wood, like I did a vase where I cut the thing in half, I put a 1-inch filler in with blue resin, it's called a waterfall vase. And then I turned it, well, when you turn it, that resin, it's all scratched up. I mean, you can't believe, you figure, well, it's not even it'll never come back. But it does.